Welcome, everyone, to the MMA Depressed Us with me, Zane Simon, and my co-hosts Connor Reevish and Phil McKenzie. Once again, back watching the absolute worst fights we can out of MMA history. Our focus, as always, being on WEC, Strikeforce, Pride, and the UFC. Basically, the Fight Pass library, and trying to find high-level bad fights. We don't want to just watch, like, King of the Cage, Ice Storm or 5 or whatever. And
I do. I want to.
What the fuck? Can we watch that instead?
Okay, maybe next time we'll just watch like a random King of the Cage event that's uploaded.
War Gods. I want to see War Gods again.
Yeah, the one in the rain. That's my vote.
All right. So after this episode, we may be on an adjustment course, refiguring this show, just watching the worst regional level, like bare bones MMA possible. But I will say there might be a special kind of hell to just finding the longest low-level regional fights we can, like 5-minute or 5-round title fights that are like it's the only pro fight on an otherwise all amateur card.
Oh, yeah.
It's like for one guy's 3-2 and the other guy's like 5-7.
Hell is a never-ending Bellator prelim stream. Yeah.
Hey, the Human Sacrifice Hour has a lot going for it.
But instead, we're watching fights that probably should have been better than they were.
Yeah. And this week, as always, we're watching one good bad fight, something that's fun, full of action, no technique at all. A bad fight, something that's just the most boring, lackluster, inactive thing we can find. And then a disappointment. Has to be big names, has to be a big, something big at stake, big names, big stakes. And just not at all the fight we were expecting. Our disappointment this week is Oleg Taktarov versus Marco Ruas from UFC Ultimate 95, I believe, or as listed on Fight Pass, UFC 7.5. And our bad fight is a light heavyweight classic and an all-time bad fight king, Frantimar Bahoz versus Hans Stringer. From UFC, I don't know, Frantimar Bahoz, whatever he's on.
From UFC, Frantimar Bahoz.
And then starting the whole thing off, a fighter we really should have gotten to for a good bad fight before this, but somehow just didn't. Leonard Garcia taking on Jamil Masu at WEC 42. We don't get to do enough WEC fights. That's because most WEC fights were good.
Are awesome.
Yeah.
Even this is probably going to be very entertaining.
Yeah. So, as always, we like to start out on a high note and get slowly into lower and lower notes before we all end up just wanting to go to bed for the rest of the day. Turn the lights out.
I don't even go to bed. I just sit in this exact spot at my desk, turn all the lights out, and just try not to think for about 6 hours straight.
1,000-yard stare into the darkness.
Open-eyed, just... Yeah.
And I'll try and count. I'll count everybody down to the start of each video if you want to sync up and follow along with us live using the Fight Pass fights. We're starting at the beginning of each fight, minute, second, 0, and just playing from there. And then Connor will attempt to count us into the beginning of round 1 in case you're using any other form of video for the fight, YouTube, Vimeo, whatever else is out, Daily Motion, your own personal DVDs, whatever you got. So you can sync up at the beginning of each fight. Hopefully, we'll usually just talk over him and he'll usually pick the exact wrong time to start the count, but that's all we got. We're going to start this off quick because, honestly, I don't have enough time to give everybody a big introduction. But we're going to jump right into our first bout of the show, Leonard Garcia versus Jamil Masu, WC 42. All right?
I'm ready.
Synced up? Ready to go? Okay. I need actual visual words coming out of audio words coming out of your mouth, not visual words.
Phil,
If you can manage that somehow.
You need to be the electric light company, Phil, okay?
That's right.
Everybody ready?
Did you turn
Yes.
sideways and speak like a little bubble pops up with the words?
Ready. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm ready. Phil appears to be alive, which I assume means he's ready as well.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Garcia, Masu, starting in 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, and it didn't start for me. Awesome. There we go.
Okay. Zane will be a second and a half behind us.
I'll catch up. Or just y'all like pause for 2 seconds and then go. I don't know.
Well, that'll screw up the sync for everyone watching the show, Zane.
They'll know. They heard me say it. Whatever.
The thing is, with Leonard Garcia, there's so many bad things happening, so many bad punches being thrown. We need to be on time with our analysis, okay? We need to be synced up perfectly.
Whatever.
There's going to be 7,000 sloppy punches in this fight.
Oh, man. Little Joe Martinez, blue cage action.
Dude,
I even have a set of the WEC. Like, they don't have WEC on them, but they're by the same company that made them afterward. A set of the blue MMA gloves.
Yeah. Pride has more nostalgic trappings. So, like, when I was at UFC 203 and Alistair Overeem came out to the Pride theme, like, yeah, I got some feels from that, right? But honestly, if I had to pick between Pride Never Die and WEC Never Die, WEC was just almost entirely good fights. Like, even this one is going to be fun.
Oh yeah, like WEC's got to be, for me, it's my, like, it was just never bad. Like,
yeah,
it's just, it was just
you never have like a whole event, like a UFC event or a Pride event, where you're just like, oh, this whole event just sucked. Like, that never happens with a WEC event.
Yep.
Yeah, don't know what it was. Probably
okay, here we
just
go.
Like, all right.
I choose the wrong time to start. Phil's choosing the wrong time to talk. Okay, here we go. Round one is about to begin in about 35 seconds from now. Here we go. And now. Okay, Phil, please continue.
Okay, like, so what? So, like, Masu looks like another fighter whose head has been squished in a press, but I don't know who.
It looks kind of like Ryan Hall to me. Yeah.
Yeah. He looked like Ryan Hall's cousin, Doug Hall. You know?
Definitely Doug Hall. Gotta be Doug Hall.
You know what he doesn't look like at all? A person named Jamil Masu.
That's fair.
Like, just not at all.
Does Leonard Garcia look like somebody named Leonard?
No. That's also true. It's fair enough. It's
the faux hawk really
terribly misnamed children.
Yeah, definitely.
You can see Leonard trying to be technical here. He's standing.
He always does.
Yeah.
He'll get about
quite weirdly on the balls of his feet.
Yeah, that's what he always does. That's what he thinks technical is.
Yeah.
Down to his very last fights in the UFC, when Greg Jackson was screaming at Leonard Garcia to be technical, he just got higher and higher on his toes. I'm not even kidding. You can see him in some absurdly uncomfortable stances when he's trying to be technical.
Which is funny too, because you can, I think, pretty easily port it over to Donald Cerrone too. But like, Cerrone obviously translated a lot of that a lot better.
Well, Cerrone had Gibson. Garcia is just Winklejohn plus brawling through and through.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing. Like, Cerrone is a kicker. And Cerrone didn't learn how to box for a very long time for obvious reasons. And but that was okay because he was a fantastic kicker and an incredible submission grappler. Like, what if you're just a boxer and you just have to learn? You're just a power boxer, and you have to learn under.
You have to learn power boxing from Mike Winklejohn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're seeing it here.
What if you start? Six.
Devastating fucking. The power is real, folks. It's not a meme.
Cursed with power.
No, it's a curse. It is a curse because, I mean, clearly he's already like, you know, he might punch himself out. Like, There's so much power being transferred from his. It's a it's the stamina meter. Like there's so much power being transferred from each punch that the stamina meter goes all the way down every time it connects, and then has to go back up slowly.
But there's just a glee in Leonard Garcia's eyes as he knees another man's head into mush. He loves doing this.
Yep.
This is the thing, like, Leonard Garcia was one of those guys where, like, they'd constantly be talking about his power. And it's like, I don't know if it's power so much that he just tries super hard.
Yeah.
Like,
he's not gifted with power. He just doesn't throw light punches.
Well, and also if you're starting 6 or 7 feet away from your opponent and then you're leaping forward every time you start a combination, like he's absolutely putting the entire weight of his body behind every punch.
He sprints into every single shot.
Which is also why he's often so far like out of position to actually connect on anything, because you're starting from 7 feet out and then you're hopping into the
Kimura. Boo.
Boo. That was a lovely clinch takedown to get into this position from Masu. So far, I don't even know if this qualifies as a bad fight. We'll see how sloppy it gets after the first round.
I'm interested to rewatch like Korean Zombie Garcia again at some point and see what it actually looks like, because it's one of those ones where like people are like, it's a classic. I don't exactly remember a classic. I remember it being a bit like Melendez Sanchez, where like Garcia is just flailing and getting punched a lot.
Yeah, it was also in the period where Korean Zombie would get tired really quickly. So I do remember it's like a pretty exhausted brawl for a good portion of that fight. It's not as good. I mean, if you're Korean Zombie Poirier has it beat for quality by far.
Yeah, well, Korean Zombie has a lot of fights that, like it's hard to imagine an actually bad Korean Zombie fight.
True.
His fight against Aldo was pretty dull, but that was just because he was like, holy shit, I actually don't know how to approach this guy at all. Like many people.
Suddenly it's all like, how deep is your technical kickboxing game? And it's like, oh, not that deep.
Yeah. It was also because he was becoming more of a counter puncher, and Aldo was just like, I'm just not going to walk into anything. It's just not going to happen until your arm falls off. Yeah, like Leonard,
they missed a high five at the start of round 2. Sorry, Phil, go on.
Yeah. Leonard is unfortunate in that he left UFC at just the wrong time. I feel like have we lost Connor?
I'm losing you. I feel
He's
like
frozen.
I'm losing you is what I was losing there, and Connor's frozen too now. So we're losing everybody. Oh, there he's back. Amazing.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay, repeat what you said, because now you're back. Now I can hear you, and this fight's now.
Wait a minute, something's happening.
Wild.
Masu is going for a takedown and getting it, and Leonard is not going to guillotine him.
No.
But like, I feel like Gus is unfortunate in the timing of when he left the UFC, because he left the UFC after Coker came to Bellator. I mean, before Coker came to Bellator, because he's exactly the kind of guy that Coker would have scooped up.
It's true.
Instead, I think he's down in he's doing Legacy Fighting Championships, whatever it is.
Leonard Garcia, is he still fighting?
What was he?
I think he took a fight a while ago.
Oh yeah, he hasn't fought for ages.
Yeah, I think he's just kind of retired.
Yeah, which is probably good. I don't think I want to see a 2018 Leonard Garcia.
No.
Although he might have reached the pinnacle of technical fighting and have turned into Frankie Edgar versus BJ Penn 3 BJ.
He's going to be wearing an invisible pair of high heels for his comeback fight.
Oh. All right.
No kidding.
We've transferred from good fight to just kind of bad fight without going from like a lot of good bad. Like there was a moment of just kind of swinging hands.
Yeah.
in this, but
I mean, the main thing is this dude gonna exhaust himself trying to finish Garcia by just mashing his elbow into his face?
We
from
know
a range
Garcia
of
wins a
ranges?
split decision, so
yeah, that's true.
that seems likely.
And so far, the only part of this fight he's won is when he dropped the guy.
Yeah.
Pretty much the only thing Leonard Garcia has done in this fight so far.
Wait till the next round starts. And I want you guys to evaluate how uncomfortable every aspect of Leonard Garcia's body positioning looks. Because whenever he starts a round, it's like it's not just the tippy toe thing. Technical for Leonard Garcia means in a position that doesn't feel good or natural. Like, oh, this is, like it's good and natural when you are swinging everything with reckless abandon, but when you're being technical, you have to,
So he's
really
in fact he's got the same relationship with technique as like the sub in a sub dom relationship.
Yes.
Yeah, something like that.
The more uncomfortable I am, the better I'm doing it.
Yep, pretty much. Like, well,
okay, so
okay, now we actually have exhausted Leonard Garcia, which
the best Leonard Garcia
is the best Leonard Garcia.
Too tired to be technical. I know he's still trying it. You can still see him like these. Oh man,
still up on
it. It's just not fun to watch.
He almost rolled his ankle after landing that punch because he tried to pivot with his toes. Look how high he is on his toes. Why?
Oh man,
it must like his calves must just kill him.
Right,
like
must be cramping, dude.
And now we've got a heavyweight bantamweight fight.
But you guys said, who was it? Who the other dude looks like?
Ryan Hall.
Ryan Hall, yeah. I'm also going to nominate, and this is who I think I've nailed down. Like CB Dollaway, whose face has been compressed, like down the middle by like.
Yeah, but CB's got the like really short nose that just it looks like the most punchable thing in the world. When you see like that kind of the nose length has so much to do with his inherent punchability, and
Zane has evaluated this on a scientific basis.
Yeah, I mean I've got some like phrenology, some like punchable phrenology going.
Yeah, CB has a really despisable brain pan that Jamil Masood clearly lacked. See, look at Leonard Garcia. It's clear that nobody has ever explained to him the specifics of proper technique, but somebody has told him hands up and stay on your toes.
Yeah.
And he has done both of those things in the most unnatural way possible. Look how wide his elbows are. He must be so exhausted just holding himself in this position. His calves, his shoulders. This is what technique is, folks. Oh my god. I also like that technical Leonard Garcia means just doing less. Like instead of doing the thing that's effective where you throw all your punches and so they don't see like the fourth or fifth one, you just throw one gigantic punch at a time.
Like because you obviously know who Leonard Garcia should have been. He should have been John Lineker.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But instead he's just this.
Well,
he could have been, man. He's tough. He does have like enough power. Like
he just got rocked by a jab really hard.
Well,
I mean, because he was on tippy toes and mid hop.
That might have something to do with it. Look at just the natural rhythm to the movements of Leonard Garcia.
It's also very weird that like over time it became abundantly clear that he's a much better grappler than he is anything else.
Well, I mean, it's just I think it's just because he was just like Jackson Winklejohn trains good grapplers.
Yeah.
It doesn't train good boxers, especially not back in 2008, 7, whenever this was.
Oh.
He just got hit with a Superman punch, and he reacted neither to the feint nor to the punch. He just watched it hit him in the face.
This is more of the good bad I was hoping for.
Oh, yeah. I guess you're charging up as hard as possible. Once every 30 seconds.
Both of them looking totally exhausted.
Oh, it's not. I mean, it's not really been like a bad fight. It's been fairly good, well paced.
Yeah, no, which is what it should be.
But yeah, like the end had to come for. But we watch Leonard Garcia, Cody McKenzie? We did, right?
I don't think we have.
We must have done. Oh no, we watched Cody McKenzie.
Sam Stout.
Sam Stout.
Yeah, we should have watched
But
Cody
yeah.
McKenzie versus Leonard Garcia. Cody McKenzie putting on a boxing masterclass on Leonard Garcia.
Yeah, he just clinically like uses MMA angles.
Yeah.
To just take Leonard Garcia apart.
Am I desynced, or did nobody else see the wheel kick that Leonard Garcia threw like 20 seconds ago? Because it was great. It was really, oh my God, he's putting so much into every single shot. So much effort. He kind of puts a ton of effort into everything, doesn't he? He's like Jessica I. He's like one of those fighters who can't just settle down and stop like tensing up.
The Jessica I thing is maybe like a really, really good comparison, honestly.
Because I always notice it with her, like in the clinch. She gets head position, but she can't just have head position. She has to like smash her forehead with all of her body weight into her opponent. That's how Garcia grapples and clinches. He's just straining constantly.
Juliana Pena has the same thing too.
He's just eating, strafing left hooks from Jamil Masu. Oh my God.
Oh man.
Leonard Garcia trying an uppercut is somehow more unnatural than Roy Nelson trying an uppercut.
Yeah.
I wonder who was the commentary team for this. It might have been the Mir. It might have been the Mir era.
It's probably one of those fights where like Mir is like really into what Leonard Garcia is doing. He sees nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Oh man, poor Frank Mir on commentary. He didn't deserve to lose it over claiming he wanted to kill Brock Lesnar.
No.
Like that should never be the deciding factor of any end.
It was Frank Mir, I think. I just listened. Oh boy. Okay, where are you guys at in the fight right now?
I'm actually I have like 10 seconds left.
Yeah, okay. Same.
Just ended for me. I don't know how I jumped ahead of you, but
oh wow, that was amazing!
I'm glad you saw the finish. Okay,
the spinning back kick, the spinning back fist leg kick counter is
you know what? Now we know what Chael Sonnen was looking at in preparation for that second Anderson Silva fight.
You really studied the striking of Leonard Garcia.
Yeah, he saw that and he's like, "Ah, there it is. That's the magic move." Because he saw Leonard Garcia want a split decision out of it. And he's like, I got to beat the guy. You pull out a move like that at the end of a fight, or the beginning in his case. And
I got to say, we should apologize to Ryan Hall because he is a much more handsome man than Jamil Masu. Just now that I get a good look at Jamil Masu straight on, CB Holloway comparison feels more appropriate.
I don't know. No, there's nothing. It's not. This is like
not that they look similar. It's just more fair.
All people of a race.
Is Zane going to go on another one of his 10-minute dissections of why CB Holloway is the most punchable man in the world?
Yeah.
Nah, there's nothing about him.
Sir, I disagree entirely. If you'll direct your attention to the blackboard behind me, I've drawn out an exact...
The earlobe length compared to the distance between the eyes and the eye to the side of the back of the ear, the front of the ear.
The problem with CB Holloway's visage clearly comes from the Circassian ridge, which runs 3 inches above the nape of the neck. Yeah, I love phrenologist Zane.
He has the lengthy proboscis, which has been shown time and again to inflame the passions of even the most mild-mannered man into throwing his fists as hard as he can.
Right. Oh. Well, That was it. I kind of want to hear what Leonard Garcia has to say on the mic here, real quick.
Yeah, he's going to say something about wanting to stay technical.
Especially throughout his entire career, Garcia has been having the exact same struggle with what technique is and how to use it.
Man.
That is one of the, I mean, that really is the most baffling thing is like, always, it's not fighters who like hit a ceiling and can't, it's fighters who just never change.
Yeah.
Not fighters who don't get better, because a lot of fighters try to get better and end up getting worse or maintain somehow.
Or
But
I mean, I think a lot of fighters aren't like they don't change that well. It's just how well their coaching staff molds them along. Like,
but it's just very frustrating. Like I just imagine being part of that environment, and I'm like, Leonard Garcia hasn't changed at all for like a decade.
mm-hmm.
So, like, how frustrating is that for Leonard Garcia?
Yeah,
you just can't make any improvements or even a change. Just nothing's different. Oy. Gotta be frustrating.
All right, let's move on to Frantimar Bajos versus Hans Stringer. Get this party really started.
Let's do it.
Knock it up a notch. Starting in 3, 2, 1, go. Hey, and this time my actual thing started on time like it's supposed to.
Oh, man. This is going to be so good, guys. It's going to be an incredible fight.
It is not going to be good at all. Yeah.
This happened.
Hans Stringer is like pretty much just exactly what you'd get if you like just blended the entire UFC roster into a soup and then just poured it into a mold of what of the aggregate of what a UFC fighter looked like. Like
Hans Stringer is the average UFC fighter.
Yeah, but like much worse. Like he looks like the average UFC fighter, but then you realize like, I see, he doesn't have any of the strengths of the average UFC fighter.
No, wait. Is it anemic Volkan Oezdemir or overly inflated Roy Mack? Those are your choices.
Yeah, he could be either one. It could be either one of those. I mean, he's clearly, it could be just one of these, Russian doll type things where you go up a level each time, and he's just the really bad one.
Juiced up Ryan LaFleur.
Yeah, juiced up Ryan LaFleur. Deflated Stefan Struve.
Stefan Struve with the lower half of his legs cut off.
Or walking on his knees. It's Stefan Struve fighting off his knees.
I just realized I would pay to watch Stefan Struve on his knees against a much lighter fighter. I would watch that.
And not like a killer, but like Stefan Struve versus like Naoki Inoue.
Versus Leonard Garcia. Modern day Leonard Garcia.
There you go.
Who would probably knock Struve out.
Yeah, I don't even need it to be a big puncher. I want somebody who's gonna like try to grapple him principally on his knees.
Oh. All right. Here's Hans Stringer. Boy.
Again, another one of these fighters where you just got to ask yourself, what was Hans Stringer supposed to be good at?
Right.
Like, was he meant to be a striker? I think he was meant to be a striker.
I think
he did sort of get
the weird thing is too
badly by Fabio Maldonado, which is rarely a good sign in your like if you've got like a core area that you fight in and
well, it was especially weird for Stringer because he's also like one of the classic cases too of a fighter where like these are the guys I want to bring up every time somebody's looking at like some 17-year-old kid and they're like, oh, imagine how good this guy's gonna be at like, the sky's the limit and all that. And then you get Hans Stringer who's like 50 fights into a career at 27. And you're like, yeah, I'm imagining how good this 17-year-old is gonna be in 10 years.
Zane, is there any way you could turn Phil's mic up?
Yeah, okay. I can do it. I can turn it up for our audio overall. Oh, why is everybody like at the bottom? That's a good.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can
sound
hear you.
louder to me.
Okay. Francois Barroso finished 11 opponents in the first round.
Here's the other thing I want to get to with Bahos. I was about to say this, and I didn't want to like get. I wanted to remember it if I was remembering correctly. But when he came up, like when I was watching him on his way into the UFC, I was like, you know, this guy's actually should be pretty good. Like he's huge and powerful, and he's finished a lot of fights. I'm interested to see what he can do in the UFC. And it was like, oh, apparently almost all of that had to do with like a severe physical advantage.
Yeah.
Working on the regional scene.
And now he's old.
He was old at the time. I mean, dude came in at like 30. You know, this is like right after his UFC career started, and he's 33 already.
Yeah.
I think he's like 37, 30, 38 now, 36, somewhere around there.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you come into like... Yeah, when you come into the UFC, there's just a quantum change in the level of athlete and durability, especially at light heavyweight and heavyweight. I mean, admittedly, it's a quantum change from a much lower level up to a much lower level, but it's still like the gap is enormous.
Yeah,
far bigger than the one you have to cross at like decent weight classes. But yeah, so like he went from being someone who could finish people quickly into being someone who was basically his game plan was just like, I'm a fridge with a giant fucking head on the top. And I'm just gonna fall over on people, and that was it.
Now he's like in his most recent performance. Now he's like light heavyweight Hakron Diaz, which is kind of fun in a terrible way.
Yeah, and it's weird because like I had hopes, and then it was almost entirely like the Arnaldo Oliveira fight that just was like, oh wait, which is this UFC debut where against Squidward, one of the best nicknamed fighters in the history of nicknames.
Yep.
And he just like all he did was back up.
One moment, Zane. Round one is literally beginning right now. Hold on, Zane.
Okay.
Shut your goddamn mouth. Round one just started. Okay. Continue.
Yes. Got to keep to our core ideals here.
Yep. Okay. Stick to our principles.
Like, all Bahos did was back up and throw kicks, and all Arnaldo Oliveira did was chase him with the worst footwork imaginable and lose. And I was like, oh, okay. This is what this guy is going to be forever now. I get it.
Yep. What was his most recent fight? Who did he fight? Was it John Vellante?
Yeah, no, he lost to John Vellante. Now he's already fought out of the UFC, hasn't he?
Has he? Bahos.
He's at least already booked, I think.
He beat Darren Stewart just before that.
He also lost to Alexander Rakic.
Yeah, John Vellante lost was his last UFC fight. Maybe he hasn't fought again since then, but he's booked at least.
That's a shame.
He's cut, but he's booked.
Man, and
he goes down. Man, this fight's actually entertaining.
Just wait. The thing is, I think it will be entertaining the whole way through, but in an increasingly ugly way. Because it definitely turns into one of those fights where it's like, yeah, neither of these guys has any idea what they're good at. Like, what? Neither of these guys has any plan, any path set out before them.
I mean, the thing too is Stringer. He spent like lots and lots of time training with Henry Hooft, but it didn't really ever show up.
Sometimes, I mean, Volkan Oezdemir didn't always look that technical either. Like,
no, and as we've talked about, Hooft is very much a like, you're going to work with me, I'm going to destroy all of the things that you've learned and then try to rebuild you as this very fundamental nuts and bolts striker, and it usually takes like half a dozen years just to get there.
You know what weirds me out about Hooft fighters is that why are their rear hand punches so bad? Is it literally just the Dutch style of being like lead hand jab, lead hand hook, and low kick? Because they all tend to be like good at that stuff, and then they throw their fucking cross or overhand, and it's just like, blah! And just comes out like Michael Johnson. Like his his actual left hand is not pretty to look at.
I don't think Hoofs really teaches punching footwork all that carefully. Like, none of his fighters pivot on their rear foot when they throw across. None of them turn their feet at all. Like, Michael Johnson's hips look really, really stiff and uncomfortable when he throws that left hand because his left foot just stays like a mile behind him.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe it seems like they really emphasize like not overreaching your like keeping like back on your base because it is
seem like it with Michael Johnson.
Well, but I mean, like, but it leads to that. Like when he throws his right hand, it becomes this, or his left hand rather, his power hand. He then it's like has to way overreach because he's not in position to throw it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it might be just like, the Dutch style of, you want to rotate your hips to throw the low kick and the hook in basically the same, with the same mechanics. And then they're just like, you know what? We're not going to learn the rest of this stuff because we don't need to.
Yeah, I don't know. That was a nice takedown from Stringer.
Yeah.
Like, plenty of action here in this first round.
He really does look like an overly... He really does look like a blown-up Rory McDonald, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a really swollen Rory McDonald. Yeah.
Yeah.
When he was straining in that clinch, you got some definite Rory vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
His wrestling doesn't look too bad here. Like in these clinch tights, his head position's nice. Underhook is nice. He's like moving his feet well.
Throws that really weird elbow that's like a slap elbow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not so far. It's not a bad fight. I mean, we're just seeing Stringer kind of take it to Francimar Bahos and not let Bahos bully him physically, which, as we've kind of found out over lots and lots of time, is pretty much all Bahos has going for him.
Yeah.
But I will say...
So he has been cut, has he? Oh, yeah, he was cut. I remember now.
Also, like a lot of other hoofed fighters, Stringer is also pushing really, really hard in a position in which Bahos was clearly doing no work.
Yeah.
Like, he was really trying with everything, and Bahos looked pretty chill.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't think, like, desperation is a good...
a good hallmark
trait to consistently associate with your fight.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think that all just comes from... I think a lot of that comes from his cornering style. And, like...
I mean, also the people he attracts. It is the team of, like, of dangerous male insecurity.
Yeah, I mean, we said before, they are basically the Cobra Kai of MMA. Like, you're going to win or else. Like, and then they're like, oh my God, I'm losing. Better fight back as hard as I can to get out of here, and I'm losing worse. And then they just you just see these terrible disintegrations, like out of more often than you see from like any other camp.
Yeah, it's pretty astounding how frequent it is with hoofed fighters. Like, it's not that big of a sample size, and a lot of them fall apart in the exact same way.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, I do think it's honestly just the thing too. Like, when he attracts people who have a history of championship level work, and who have like are credentialed in anything else, like striking, wrestling, grappling, whatever, his style works really well for them because they have the inherent confidence of like, I know I'm not a loser. I know what I'm doing, and you pushing me is fine. But you take guys like Hans Stringer or otherwise who are just like people who didn't do a lot, or who, were just like, oh, I've always done sports in some way, but never like the best athlete. And it just is a complete sort of confidence tragedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, is it maybe just
like I'm curious to see if Kamaru Usman, like, because the thing is we've never really seen Usman with any significant pushback. Like, we've never seen him losing a fight. I don't know what it looks like.
Yeah. But I mean, he's exactly the kind of person I would expect to have success continually, just because he is, he was a championship wrestler in college and has the confidence to just be like, nah, whatever. I know I'm winning.
But that's the thing. We've only ever seen him winning, so it's pretty difficult to tell. Like, you really need to see someone like put in bad situations before you can be convinced that.
Yeah,
you can be like, oh yeah,
I think part of that is a credit to his confidence already that we have actually seen him get hit really hard, but he just kind of keeps walking through it. Like, oh, I'll just keep going forward, no problem. Even when it
don't have questions. You don't know.
Yeah,
you don't know.
Like that's the thing. Like Rumble does that as well. A lot of the time they have like the fighters. Like a lot of the time, Hoof's fighters have like these. They'll be pretty tough in long striking exchanges, and that's where they're the toughest. They're the hardest. But if it becomes clear that they're losing them over a long period of time, that they tend to. From Gilbert Burns to Michael Johnson to even then, but that's where they're the toughest. Yeah. Like, what happens if Usman like fought Colby Covington and got put on his back for like an entire round? I actually tend to think that he does actually seem like just a naturally tough, hard ass individual in a way which he is not faking how much of a badass he is in a sort of a way that the other guys might be.
Yeah.
I tend to think he is going to be the exception, but I'm still, holding it out there. And this fight is okay.
It is, although watching
worse.
Francis getting worse. Power punch where he like goes like this, and then he cocks his arm back, and he's like holding his fist, cocking it back further, like actually pushing the fist back and then throwing it is the weirdest thing.
We're getting to the point where they're trying to trade counter left hooks in open space. It's getting good. Oh,
yeah.
The way he prepares to throw power punches is literally just like he's winding a catapult, and like you're watching the arm go back into punch position, and then he releases it.
And he just holds it completely static, and then like bobs his head twice from side to side.
Like, and he switches stances for his power shots too, so you can see exactly which power shot he's gonna throw. He's either like. He's in a right hand stance. Oh, okay. He threw a lead left hook there. Fine, whatever. Prove me wrong, Frank.
Round 3 is going to be incredible.
This is much better than I remember it being. This is funny.
Yeah.
Round 3 is going to be incredible. Why don't fighters why is this not more common knowledge that if you want to hold your hands up, that you just have to let your elbows rest against your ribs and then you don't have to actually hold them up? Why do so many fighters stand like this? It's exhausting, isn't it? Don't your arms get heavy as shit?
Yeah, I don't know. But I also don't. I'm willing to believe slightly that there are actual different mechanics to positioning your arms and like that kind of thing when you have to defend takedowns and like things you want to be aware of and how like ready and relaxed
wrestling. Elbows in.
Takedowns you want to keep lower, right?
You did want them lower. I'm just saying. I'm willing to like give a slight benefit of the doubt, but I also just don't believe that having your hands way up is necessarily like.
I'm not talking about keeping your hands up. I'm just saying if you're going to drop your damn elbows.
It's true.
Do that.
Yeah.
It's true.
Stringer does really look like he's just going like this out there.
Leonard Garcia too in our last one.
I'm always when it gets to the technical points willing to give a little more benefit of the doubt just because I'm like, I don't train for this, so what the fuck do I know? But then again,
so this is 1-1, right? All to play for, and amazing counter hook there by by Bahos as he kind of
amazing counter hook there by Hans Stringer as Bahos steps in.
Yeah.
The battle of left hooks. It's real.
And then Mo's like with that catapulting right elbow.
Yeah. What was it?
A right elbow from jab range.
It was like an overhand, but his elbow was locked the whole time.
Yeah,
how is that working?
Right elbow. like a Superman overhand right elbow. Because, you know, when you're a 6'4", 230-pound Goliath, jumping into a overhand elbow is the easiest, most natural strike in the world to throw.
Mm-hmm. But Hose is fun because he is really like a random selection of moves. Just let him go. What's he going to do next? Don't know. He can't do that much, but he'll try it all.
He'll try it all, and he's this huge dude who entirely throws like short-range techniques or leaps into short-range techniques.
Yep.
Like absolutely no. Like how many times in this match straightened his arms? Do you think he can?
I don't know. It's a good question. Yeah, seriously, like
the muscle in his biceps and triceps may be just so tight that he can't actually like extend the arm out without it just snapping back into place.
With how powerful his kicks are, you think like Bahos with the jab would be a much more consistent fighter.
Yeah, but then if he had a jab, he'd have to throw like more than 20 punches around, which means he'd get really tired.
Except the jab is the easy punch.
Yeah, not the way he'd throw it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, well, I would imagine when he threw it, it would just be like with his elbow bent, and they'd be like, "That's a hook, Francimar." The jab.
The jab hook.
Francimar.
No, that's an overhand. God damn it.
Oh.
Here we go. Okay,
Who is winning this round?
Exhausted now. I have no idea.
Like, because I remember this being a pretty clear Bahos victory, but like,
no, he lost
is
this
he
fight.
winning this? Oh, did he lose this?
Yeah, he lost this fight.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of hard to imagine in retrospect that Hans Stringer didn't stick around in the UFC, and Bahos was still here until very recently.
Oh, man.
Despite losing to Hans Stringer.
I like to think it was a kind of kickboxer thing where he went back to and he got Uzdemir, and he was like,
I love that
Volkan,
spinning back elbow was the go-to there. Just
Volkan, you have to what, Phil?
You have to be the standard bearer for unbelievably generic hoof-trained fighters in the light heavyweight division. I fell at the last hurdle. You can make it.
Francimar Bahos is the last hurdle.
No, it was Fabio Maldonado was the last.
Oh God, that's worse. That's worse. That's so much worse.
Like,
how did he lose to Maldonado with the quality of wrestling we have seen in this fight? Shouldn't he have just taken Maldonado down?
He got incredibly tired by out-wrestling Fabio Maldonado over the course of a round.
He lost Fabio Maldonado just came out. Everybody loses to Fabio Maldonado.
Yeah.
The boxcar homer.
Yeah, it's the classic, one of the classic boxcar homer performances.
Maldonado Derek Lewis him.
Yeah.
But, you know, like
without all the power.
Yeah.
Getting Derek Lewis, I mean, really, that is the indictment of the light heavyweight division, is that heavyweight has Derek Lewis, but for a long time, light heavyweight had Fabio Maldonado.
You have all these fans pretending to be happy with what they just saw.
Yeah.
We pay. It's those comp tickets they give to like actors who are like, "You're going to sit in this section. You got to cheer when the camera comes by you, and we're going to do it."
The cameraman just gave each of us $10,
and then they're going to push you all the way back into the super cheap seats when like actual important people show up later in the card.
Oh boy, what a fight!
Yeah.
He also has like. Stringer has weirdly shiny eyes, which does also make me feel like he's a like a C rendition of a slightly, you know, like he is. I mean, he is the generic creator fighter before like the tattoos get added and stuff.
Yeah,
I like it's just like I'm always just like this engine is just slightly off. They're getting really good, but like maybe the next UFC game.
Hans Stringer is the
like,
uncanny valley of light heavyweight fighters.
Yeah, human eyes just don't quite look like that.
I need to see Hans Stringer on the Ultimate Fighter set so they can hit him with that really bright camera lighting they do for the interviews.
Oh yeah.
I need to see those eyes gleaming in the dark. They are kind of weird.
saw
Right? They're very wide. The whites are very big.
Yeah.
Those are some strange eyes.
Let's jump on to this final tragedy now.
Right. I'm ready.
Terrible fight, an all-time terrible fight. Oleg Taktarov, Marco Ruas, Ultimate. Two legends of the sport involved in the kinds of battles that we forget that legends of the sport used to have.
Yeah.
Starting in 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, man.
Oh, that's a good ass picture from Oleg there.
Why did they choose that freeze frame for the picture?
Oh, Marco Ruas looking like my Teamster uncle.
Marco Ruas looking like he just destroyed a sub sandwich in like 30 seconds.
And then he's got to get this shipment of refrigerators to Illinois in the next 20 hours.
Marco Ruas arrives to the arena in a truck shipping air conditioner units.
That's right.
I'm here to fight.
Like Taktarov has been in a lot of films.
He has. No, he's actually like pretty much the most successful MMA fighter turned actor.
I mean, they're all like bit parts, and I'm not sure what the best one actually is.
He's definitely got a good goon look.
There's at least one. I'm trying to remember. Like he had
Rich the G-Man joins or Goins. I don't remember this dude, but it
used to be more embarrassing than Bruce Buffer.
Yeah, exactly.
It gets worse. I like this version of the UFC logo where it's the big bald man smashing the earth with his fists instead of just standing over it. Also, like Oleg Taktarov in like women's running shorts. And Marco Ruas in some very nice Vale Tudo shorts.
He's in Bad Boys 2 and National Treasure.
Yep.
And Miami Vice.
And he was in Predators, which was better than the Aliens versus Predator films.
And We Own the Night. He was in that too. So he's been in like, And Predators. Predators is probably his biggest role, which is
here we go, guys. The only round begins now.
Yeah. That's right. Not only is this a terrible fight, it is a one-round terrible fight that lasts for 18 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Marco Ruas, I mean, those are some daring Vale Tudo shorts. There is a little bit of cheek poking out on either side there. Those are very short. Those are like classic boxing era shorts.
He was the inspiration for Dennis Hallman, Little did we know Dennis Hallman was just like keeping it old school UFC.
Yeah, except Dennis Hallman can't touch this thigh gap.
And meanwhile, Oleg Taktarov out there in his modern Reebok gear.
Yeah. With
pockets. About as good.
Fight trunks with pockets.
Oh, man. So that low kick right there, and then the attempted takedown that didn't go anywhere. It's as good as it gets, boys. Drink it in.
I'm so ready. Oh, Zane, why did you suggest this fight? Okay, here's the clock. Let's all guess which direction it's going to be counting in. And so what's the length of this round supposed to be?
18 minutes, I think.
18? Okay, okay. That makes sense then. All right. I was like, if this was like a 20-minute round, the clock I just don't know how the rounds work.
Oh, no. I don't want to even go into the time tunnel of old UFC clocks. Just put there to fuck with you.
Taktarov with some lovely pressure footwork.
And a jab. He threw a jab out there.
Popped a quick little left hook, too. I mean, say what you will. Who else has leg kicks? I mean, they're pretty nasty.
They were definitely good leg kicks in an era when nobody knew even what a leg kick was.
Yeah.
This is like the era when people were like, "Oh, you can't kick in MMA like at all." Not
They
even
would take it down right
what
away.
became leg kicks. Like, oh, you can't, do like, because for a while, it was like, oh, you can't head kick in MMA. You'll just get taken down.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And then it became you can't throw any spinning kicks. But this is back in the era of you can't really kick at all because you'll do what Oleg Taktarov just did, where he threw a jumping kick and then had to reset his knee because it just popped out of the socket.
Yeah, that was like he was in genuine distress there after throwing that kick.
And Ruas is just kind of popping around.
You kind of wonder about the hierarchical structure of the streets.
How do you mean?
Who's the Duke of the streets? Or the Viscount of the streets?
I would imagine there's quite a there's quite a detailed kind of lineage going on there.
Because how does Marco Ruas get to be king of the streets? That's what I want to know.
Well, that's what Oleg Taktarov is here to ask. As Marquess of the streets, he's actually challenging Marco's title as one of the 12 barons of the streets.
That's right. Apparently, there's a lot of hugging on the streets.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. The cage grab era.
Yeah, also
UFC.
just holding tight onto the cage.
I've always thought of that rule as being for fighters' safety.
Yeah.
I thought of it as being so you can't take away takedowns and you don't get your fingers and toes twisted up if you do get but really it makes the fights more exciting because you can just hold somebody in one place.
So
if you can
now,
put your fingers through
somehow
the
Oleg Taktarov is bleeding after rolling for a leg lock, and I have to question what he's doing here. I realize I've made it clear I'm not like any kind of grappler, and my kickboxing and boxing that I've done is minimal. It's out there, but minimal. But what was that at the point where he's just got a foot stuck in there and his hand between Ruas's legs on his ankle? Where are you really dragging?
Could have been a knee bar if he actually had any space to go.
I guess.
Yeah, this is again a long, long time before anyone figured out before anyone started training in actual cages. So also, we've seen some innovative uses of the cage to he didn't wall walk there. He reached up behind himself, grabbed the cage, and pulled himself up.
Did a pull up,
which is fine because just before then, Ruas he tried to kick Ruas off him, and then
we're 5 minutes and we have hands on knees.
Yeah,
everybody's tired now. Oh, but yeah, no, I mean,
man.
The very definite reason against cage grab, the time the rule was put in, UFC 14, it was pretty much entirely to prevent a guy from just grabbing onto the cage and holding himself to his opponent.
Mm-hmm. We saw plenty of that from Tank Abbott in that Scott Ferrazzo fight too.
Exactly.
The only part of that fight that wasn't incredible was that.
Which, to be fair, was a shit ton of that fight. Just them being huddled up by the fence and Tank Abbott just looking off into space like that one gif of the dog with the cupcakes.
Who knows? Maybe without that, the bursts of action wouldn't have been so incredible because the other parts of that fight were really something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a moment, I just thought that Taktarov's knee brace changed color magically.
It flipped inside out, didn't it?
Yeah, it flipped inside out. But
Lieberman's knee brace is currently on his knee.
Did he just change? Did that just switch? Is this one of those alternate universe things where
that was not going to work. It's going to go for a flying leg scissor into knee bar. There was clearly the idea.
I just liked your evaluation. That was not going to work.
I'm actually throwing some punches. It is remarkable and fun to see how it actually people actually having to throw bare knuckle punches.
Yeah.
And how little weight they can put behind it.
This is a pretty solid guillotine attempt right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a no-arm guillotine.
Not not good enough to dethrone the king of the streets, but
No.
you know.
Yeah, that's why I was upset. That like so many promotions keep trying to bring back bare knuckle boxing.
Yeah.
None of them have bare knuckles.
No.
It's all like dudes with taped fists. I'm like, what's the point? You don't. It's barely any different than fighting in MMA gloves at that point. It's pretty much the same thing. Bare knuckles really does change like how you think about throwing punches. It totally changes the dynamic of the striking exchange.
And it's also one of those things too where like it doesn't create a better spectator sport. Like
no,
I think that's the idea.
Well, that's why they keep the tape on.
Yeah, people think they're like, oh, you know, we'll bring back that'll be like the more brutal, more like real. It'll be like closer to cool fighting, like cool YouTube fights. And it's like, nah. It might be that for like a year before people are like, oh, if I want to win, I'm gonna like focus all my energy on body work, and
also, people are going to break their hands and split them all the time.
Yeah.
But I would genuinely like to see like a generation in, what does bare knuckle boxing look like?
Yeah.
With a game that is designed for those rules, I think it would be interesting. But
it would be interesting, but it would be a hardcore fight nerd interesting. It would not be like a mass market.
Which is why they allow them to tape their hands, because then it's literally just you can throw punches really hard still. Except there are more cuts basically. There we go. Punches to the spine here from Taktarov.
Yep. He's still holding on to that guillotine. It's never going to work, but there are no stand-ups, and
you gotta admire
how long he can hold it.
This was genuinely an era in which people, most people thought there was no such thing as an arm in guillotine.
Hey, we get a stand-up. What? We get an actual stand-up
from inside a submission.
Yep.
I'm very confused.
I mean, we all know it wasn't going anywhere.
And of course,
it wasn't a tight submission, but like
the clock's still ticking, but it's kind of like a round ending.
Yep.
Yeah, like because they go back to the corner and
he gets corner advice, he gets cut work.
It is clear that we do not know how the early UFC works.
No,
at least not for time and rounds.
I think it is a round. It was around 9 minutes.
Did the clock? Oh, the clock stopped at 8:53.
Yeah,
and now resumed at 8:52.
Oh Lord!
And both men got about 20 seconds.
Sucked into the time text, but we fucking are.
We can't talk about the time.
Marco Ruas, his musculature is so like specifically articulated. It looks like he's shaved his muscles in. You know, like those dudes who just have a bunch of body hair, so they just shave outlines for their muscles.
He's just airbrushed.
Yeah, like he does look literally airbrushed on.
It's the picture of like he's definitely the picture of impractical musculature, like beach muscles, except beach muscles from like 1930. He looks like Mr.
Yeah, he's got the kind of hard body going that like you usually see in gentlemen's special interest literature targeted towards other gentlemen.
Gentlemen's special interest literature.
Well, because we're talking 1930s here, so
yeah.
Gentlemen's special interest literature for gentlemen.
King of the meats.
People kicked sand in my face until I used Marco, who has patented Valetudo fighting and fitness program. It involves throwing one leg kick every minute.
Sponsored by Johnson's Baby Oil. Poured on thick. God, is he oily?
Is he allowed to be this shiny for a professional fight? Surely he's breaking some kind of rule here.
I'm pretty sure if it wasn't in this fight, it may have been in their rematch or something. I think Taktarov did actually complain that Ruas was greasing, or somebody else did. It may have been Remco Pardo.
I definitely remember a Taktarov greasing scandal because they were so worried about Taktarov grabbing their leg.
Yeah. And Ruas looks exactly like somebody who massaged an entire bottle of baby oil into his skin and is sweating it out over the course of this fight.
It's like he drank a bottle of Jergens so that now it's extruding through his pores.
So when did like rules against greasing come in?
Not until like officially, I don't even think until the GSP scandal.
Yeah, because
Really?
like, and then there must have been some kind of check.
I mean, I think the commissions didn't allow it, but I don't think there was a specific thing against it codified in.
Well, with how irregular equipment is there even like a referee check at this event before they go into the cage?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, but like, surely there would have been someone to like see Ruas just dumping a vat of cooking oil over his head and to just be like, dude.
I mean, it worked for fucking Sexyama all the way up until like 2010.
Oh yeah, he just covered himself in like bottle after bottle of like lotion, right?
Yeah, nobody complained because everyone wanted to see it.
He would massage a bunch of like baby oil into his skin before fights, and then it would come out during the fight.
You sweat, you get slippery as hell.
Yeah. Apparently, he used to do it for judo competitions too.
With the gi on?
What?
Okay, at this point, he's just doing it for aesthetic reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's got to be at least half of it. The man did have excellent skin, like clearly well moisturized and cared for.
No doubt.
Like that was actually the thing, is he didn't want to grease it all. He's just so like vain about it that he couldn't stop putting oil into his skin. And
yeah,
it does add a new layer of enjoyment to that video of Akiyama and Dong Hyun Kim wrestling with the Mongolian wrestlers, where they're literally just covered in grease and they just have to grab each other by the thong to get takedowns. Akiyama did seem
been doing that for years. He's been training for that his whole life.
And he lost. He seemed quite frustrated by the greasiness of his opponent. So
that's funny.
This is an unfair amount of grease.
Oh.
Yeah, like, so you got to think, like, could you, obviously the main thing you'd want to do if you could time travel people back in time to, like, UFC events is that you'd want to put John Lineker in UFC 1. But, like, it would be also interesting, could you go back to someone? Is there anyone that you could just give, like, the advice of just grease the hell up? That greasy guy, just make yourself, like, put as much grease as humanly possible on yourself, and you may have a chance. Is there anyone that could have possibly survived
in the early UFC events?
Shamrock, like UFC 1,
yeah, or 2, Orlando Veet, probably.
Yeah,
like that dude was a legit quality kickboxer and Muay Thai striker at the time, in shape, like maybe a little after the prime of his career, but in amazing shape with a couple of just brutal fucking knockouts. He got knocked out really badly too by Remco Pardo, but like that was a dude who he just had no idea how to grapple, and being greasy as hell would have helped him.
Maurice Smith could have used some baby oil.
Also, maybe from UFC 2, what's his name? The Japanese karate guy who lost to Royce Gracie.
Harold, whatever.
No, he's actually Japanese.
Oh, okay. He was like a legit Kyokushin guy.
Hara. He was a Kudo black belt, like a serious kind of star of full contact karate in Japan, which was like that's kind of karate that like Semi Schilt did, and
Kudo is like MMA.
Yeah. So he was a legit like high level black belt tournament champion in that, and Royce just arm barred and broke his arm in like 3 minutes.
Would have been super cool to see someone like that in more early UFC events.
Yeah.
No, that's the thing. Like, especially UFC 2, UFC 1 is it's it's got some legit. There were some legit people, obviously, with Ken Shamrock in there and Hoist and all that. But UFC 2 actually had like a ton of really good, high quality, random martial artists, people who specialized in different specific martial arts, and nobody like that's kind of the thing that I think people overlook a lot about those early UFC events was this idea of like, oh, well, we saw a lot of strip mall black belts and not like actual martial artists in these UFC fights. If they'd spot a real karate black belt or, a real expert Muay Thai fighter at the time or something like that, these guys would get lit up. And then you actually go back and watch and it's like, no, you realize that, what's his name? One Glove dude.
Art Jimmerson.
He was like a top 10 ranked middleweight at the time.
He wasn't an incredible boxer, but he was a very successful pro boxer.
Yeah. Like
he was.
These dudes that they found at the time, they weren't maybe huge stars in any of their particular thing, but a lot of them were high level competitors who.
Yeah. Some of them were just, Some of them were just
strip mall black
off the street. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, or guys who were like so far past any competitive fighting reality that they never should have been in there, and who were like maybe good at some point. Like, who's the guy who was like homeless for a while and ended up in like it was a really sad story. Kevin something. Damn it. I've got to go back and find this depressing thing. Kevin Rosier.
Yeah, I mean, it's the right show for it.
Kevin Rosier, who like he was actually like a competitive heavyweight kickboxer in the 80s and all that, but by the time he got into the UFC, he had clearly not been training or taking care of himself and was like way overweight and out of, should not have been in any position to fight, but was willing and kept fighting beyond that, well into the point that he did himself some serious damage over his martial arts combat sports career. Like, this is a dude who took fights all the way up to 2001. Yeah.
Well, thank God no serious damage was done in this fight.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, the judges.
Oh, that's awesome.
The handwritten vote cards. The one guy underlined it 3 times because his vote's the most important.
Wait a minute. Oleg Taktarov, yes.
Did they misspell it?
Yep, did indeed. Go on the far right.
One of those guys definitely owns a strip club. One of those judges 100% owns or manages a strip club.
Oh, man.
All right, well, I like how there was really nothing to talk about with that actual fight.
Oh. It is 2 of the like classic, beloved old school veterans of the sport in just the most boring, terrible fight possible.
Yeah. Although, in fairness, two beloved veterans who have had a fair few of those kinds of fights.
Oh, yeah.
And they fought again, right?
Oh, yeah. They fought for like World Vale Tudo Championships to a draw, a 30-minute draw.
I'm willing to bet. That is awesome. I thought I reckon they went away from the first one and were just like, we're not going to have a fight like that again. We're going to have a barn burner next time.
Both guys were like, no, it's not going down like that. I'm bringing it all.
I figured him out now.
Yeah.
I spent literally 18 minutes straight figuring him out.
A 31-minute long draw.
Yep.
Mm.
If it's on Fight Pass, we'll do it sometime.
How do you get a draw at 31-12? It's one thing I have to ask. Is that the point at which everyone just like the ref like just says, "Fuck it, this is incredibly boring. Neither of you have won. It's over."
It should be a mutual loss at that point. Like the ref's just like holds both guys' hands up and then puts them both down. He's just like, losers, loser, we're done.
What was the first UFC fight that forced them to have decisions?
Oh,
wasn't there an abysmal fight that went like 33 minutes? It was a Ken Shamrock Severn.
Yeah, it was one of the really early ones. It was like in number. There was 2 or 3, right? They actually.
Oh, I don't know now. It wasn't UFC 2. UFC 3, and it wasn't UFC 3. Or it might have been Hoist. No, UFC 4. It was
Hoist and
UFC
Ken
5.
Shamrock
It was
did
Ken
have
Shamrock, Hoist Gracie.
a 36-minute draw.
Yep,
Oh yeah.
that was it.
And that was just like a year before Ken Shamrock's 33-minute draw with Oleg Taktarov.
We'll be doing that one soon.
Maybe it was that one. That was at UFC 7. That
All
kind
right.
of sounds right. It might have been that.
Anyway, on that note, you can find me on Twitter at TheZaneSimon. You can find Connor on Twitter at BoxingBush. You can find Phil on Twitter at EvilGregJackson. You can find all 3 of us over at BloodyElbow.com week in, week out. Give us a like. That's a thumbs up down there on our YouTube channel, MMANation.com, DOTCOM, all spelled out, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where you get all the latest Bloody Elbow shows, videos, news, analysis, all the stuff we do on the regular. Subscribing, liking helps us a ton, so please do that. And we will be back with another episode of the MMA Depressed Us next week. And I will be back in like 20 minutes to do the Bellator 198 vivisection. So tune in for that. And obviously, Connor will have heavy hands and all that stuff too. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will see you next time.